1. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Well, I found out recently. I'm 20 but look younger. Most people assume that I'm 17, but I act a lot older and firmer, so people don't really mess with me after I talk back to them. But even though I act older, people sometimes think I'm younger. So I have to deal with EPs, both entitled people and entitled parents, and neckbeards, who think I'm a lolly. On top of that, I really like video games and anime, so yeah, even more neckbeard bait. Anyways, into the story. So I went to a local video game store, let's call it SameTop. I went to SameTop to get Black Ops 4 since I had been hearing from my brother about how amazing it was. I live with my twin brother, not identical, obviously. I hop out of my car and start walking toward the SameTop, where I notice a neckbeard walking towards me. I book it into SameTop, and he follows me in. Unlike most neckbeards, this guy wasn't blatantly creepy. He didn't try talking to me about video games or D&D or anime or some other thing. He just followed me through the aisles and subtly stared at me. I don't think he noticed I could see him because I was wearing glasses. Yeah, I wear sunglasses inside. I know I'm a douche. I finally decided to look at the neckbeard when he's staring. I basically snap my neck with how fast I turn towards him and say, "The fuck do you want?" The weird smile he had when he was staring immediately dissipates, and he, under his breath, goes,
Females these days.
I was surprised when he just walked away. I thought I was gonna have a really neckbeard experience. He walked over to the Funko Pop dolls and starts looking. There are only a couple on display, and there were a lot of empty spaces on the rack. This is when the entitled parents walk in, talking on the phone with expensive-looking purse and "I want to speak to your manager" haircut, with a child whose eyes light up when he sees the Funko Pops. The EP barely puts up a fight when the kid runs off from her towards the dolls. He immediately points at one and says,
It's one!
At the top of his lungs. It actually made me jump a little. The EP ends the call and shuffles, literally shuffles, over to the Pops, tiredly crouches and looks at the one he's pointing at. I'm pretty sure it was Rick from Rick and Morty. My full attention is on the EP because I thought maybe instead of a neckbeard story I would get an EP story. Neither I nor the EP notice the neckbeard hobble over toward her side of the rack. The EP grabs the figure and hands it to the kid. He grabs it with glee, then immediately it's taken away by the neckbeard, and he starts to say,
Rick and Morty, why would a child want this? The show's too highbrow for a simple child to understand. Stupid children thinking they could understand such complexity.
The EP instantly shook her tired demeanor and snatched the figure from the neckbeard and starts berating the neckbeard with insults. She starts going off about how she'll sue him for fake charges and assault. She even said, "If you don't pay for whatever game my son wants, I will sue you." The EP raises her hand and keeps it there, screaming that she will slap him if he ever touches her son again. The neckbeard gets into this weird stance with his hands ready to karate chop her. And I swear to God, he says,
Go ahead, I've studied all types of martial arts.
The EP looks dumbfounded, and so does the cashier. And I'm trying my hardest not to laugh, and the EP puts down her hand. I'm assuming she didn't know internet culture, so she probably didn't know that with one hit, the neckbeard would have gone down like a sack of potatoes. The EP glares at the neckbeard and grabs her kid and goes into a different aisle. The neckbeard goes back to looking for a figure. The EP comes back with the kid holding a game and goes up to the counter and puts the stuff on there. The cashier scans it, and when the cashier says the price, the EP pauses and says, "Excuse me, do you know who I am?" She glared at the cashier and starts on about how she's super important because she volunteers at her kid's school, saying she's doing the community a favor by deciding to keep living here. Even though I could just leave and take my money with me. I lost all respect I had for this woman that she'd gained by screaming at the neckbeard. The cashier isn't taking her crap, and the EP decides to play the victim card. She went on and on about how the neckbeard assaulted her, acting like the cashier couldn't clearly see them the whole time. She added, "I'm a single mother, so could you just forget about the game and charge me for the doll?" This is when the neckbeard decides to come out and say,
"No wonder you're single with an attitude like that. It's the same with all women these days. Feminists have ruined things for men."
The EP grabbed the doll off the counter and threw it at the neckbeard, then grabbed her kid and dashed out of the store. The neckbeard chased after her, and the police were called. Both got arrested, and I don't know what happened after. I honestly couldn't believe that I got to see both of these stereotypes pushed to their extremes go face to face. 2. The cast. There's Writer Beard, the neckbeard of the story, who is, as the name implies, a writer. He's also pretty creepy, but I'm sure you already figured that. Nerd, probably my best bro. Cat, another beautiful human. Space, mom friend, trademark, and a little scary if needed. Spook, also a mom, scary, even if not needed. Uno, a dead meme, and me/trash. Do I need to explain? There will be minor characters as well, but that's pretty much it. And extra info is that Space, Spook, and Uno are all in a relationship. This will be important later. So to start, we met Writer Beard during the first rally of freshman year, which me, Nerd, and Space had all skipped together. We were messing around and talking about one of our favorite book series, when we hear this dude complaining that none of his friends would hug him. We just ignored it and continued talking, when he noticed what we were talking about, and decided to join in. Now, Writer Beard is very tall, sort of thick but not noticeable, and has buzzed blonde hair, plus he was a junior, so he didn't fit in with the three of us very well, but that didn't stop him. "Oh, you guys like Flatulent Meditations on a Mountaintop by IP Freely too?" We respond, "Yeah?" He goes off on a tangent about the book series. Alright, I thought, he seems cool, I guess. A little awkward, but who isn't? But then he started complaining about how none of his friends wanted to hug him. Now, it was dumb, I know, but I kinda pitied him, so I gave him a small hug, and he seemed to be okay. He actually did manage to integrate himself into the group very quickly, though, and we put him in a group chat with the three of us, and showed him where we sat at lunch. I was still a bit nervous, but I figured it was just my anxiety and trust issues, so I ignored any uneasy feelings I got from him. Throughout our time knowing him, he made some flirty and offensive jokes, and nobody appreciated them at all. He was asked to stop more than once, but he never really did. We also very quickly learned that he had very different views than us. Normally I'd be fine with this, but he just kept bringing it into every conversation. The main thing that bugged me was that he refused to believe I was a guy, I'm trans, and debated me about it all the time. I personally believe that he just didn't want to be anything but straight, and he, a guy, had admitted that he had a crush on me, also a guy. It really irked me, as any time he'd mentioned me he'd say they, or he mentioned that he was still straight because I still looked like a girl, and still have a female body. When I asked him if he only liked me for my body, he said no. So I asked him if he'd still like me when I'm more masculine and have a dick. And he shut up. I was pissed off at him for a while after that. Another thing he did was make incredibly offensive jokes about things he disagreed with, in a group of people he disagreed with. It'd be pretty homophobic, creepy, or rude things that he thought were hilarious. We asked him to stop on multiple occasions, but he claimed it was just a joke, and would get all butthurt if we pressed it. Now, when I say creepy, I don't just mean he'd make inappropriate and unfunny jokes, though he did that too. He'd sometimes just unbutton his shirt and say things in a deliberately sensual voice that everyone hated. It got so bad that one of our friends just stopped talking to him completely, and a few others would just tell him to shut up. On top of creeping us all out and irritating us to no end, this dude also really liked to push his writing to us all the time. Don't get me wrong, he could write pretty good, but the more and more he pushed it, the less likely I was to read it. I told him it might take me a while to read it because I'm dyslexic. but he still asked me every day if I had finished it. He'd also brag about his knowledge of writing or history all the time, even if we weren't talking about it. One day, Writer Beard made an incredibly stupid decision that yet again made most of us pissed at him. By this time, most of us already didn't like him, so this did not help at all. Now, Kat's mom had taken their phone for a stupid reason, and Writer Beard had the most brilliant and fantastic idea ever to grace this world. He wrote a sarcastic text and said something along the lines of, "Dear Kat's mom, I can see you have taken their phone. Such a wonderful idea, truly. You must be an amazing mother." I have it somewhere in my phone, but I ain't looking for it. Kat's mom had seen this text, and then grounded Kat for quite a while. Kat had then told Writer Beard off in another text, which I don't remember at all. I first figured all this out when Writer Beard texted me at 10 p.m. to ask if he messed up. I told him very bluntly that yes, that was stupid. Since then, Kat's mom has no trust in Kat's friend group or friend choice, and Kat refuses to talk to Writer Beard, and instead, they only insult him when he's near. He told me that he had self-esteem issues and that he hated when we insulted him. Yet, he didn't stop anything he was doing. I told him that while it could be nicer, a lot of what they were saying was true, and he did creep them out. He said he was working on it, but it really didn't seem like it. He eventually did something, though, that really made everyone hate him with a passion. That is mostly why I'm calling him a neckbeard. He was getting pretty close to Spook, a small girl who looks frail but will kick your ass if you say it to her face, and started seeming like he had a crush on her. He'd call her his princess and would flirt with her as a joke. Now, Spook has two significant others, Space and Uno, that didn't like this at all. The three of them would bring it up a few times, but he assured them that it wasn't romantic at all, and they really couldn't do anything without hard evidence. One day, though, they got that hard evidence. He had written a fairly gruesome poem about a princess and a prince who had fallen in love. The princess was already married, though, and so the prince had killed the princess's husband, leaving his head on a spear, and rescuing the princess from the husband she never loved. I didn't read the poem myself, but according to the others, it was detailed in the death scene and very gross. He wrote it while glancing at Uno, and he gave the poem to Spook for her to read. She was disgusted, and after class, she told the rest of us about it. He already didn't sit or talk with us very often, but after this, we all told him we weren't dealing with him anymore, and he's pretty much left. He knows where Uno lives, though, and that poem felt like a threat. So if he does more, we have evidence, and we will get faculty involved. He'll occasionally try to talk to me and others, but for the most part, he's fucked off, and I hope he doesn't try anything else. 3. My story takes place around 5 years ago, so details have become a bit fuzzy at some points. I will be paraphrasing since I can't remember exact quotes and my native language isn't English. Let's first introduce myself. I'm Athena, and at the time, I should have been around 21 years old. Normally I'm rather introverted, but at conventions I can be rather bubbly, excited, and, sadly, a bit oblivious. That is one of the ways my autism shows itself. Overall, I'm good at hiding it from people that don't know me very well. I'm tall for a girl and have long, dark brown hair. This becomes relevant for later in the story. Now onto it. The con I attended is one of the largest in my tiny country, and lasts from Friday till Sunday, even going through the night. The convention center was absolutely huge. I was very lucky that I lived about 15 minutes away from the convention site by bus. Like, yay for your own bed and not stressing if you got everything with you in your cramped hotel room. It was Friday, when I entered the area down in the basement where they sell lots of merchandise. It was my second time going to a convention without any of my friends, so I took my sweet time taking in all that was sold. I got a few compliments on my cosplay, tier grants from the video game Tales of the Abyss. Just the usual stuff. I was looking through some boxes that were sorted by shows and had figures in them, when my train of thought got interrupted. Enter the Neckbeard. Let's call him something else Greek mythology related. Pan. Hello. You look really beautiful. Pan, while he didn't have a neck beard, did have something on his upper lip that was supposed to be facial hair. Oh, thank you, I'm really happy with my cosplay as well. Do you know the character? I was excited to talk about the Tales of series, also wanting to be open that I only had binge-watched anime from Tales of the Abyss, because the game of itself never released in Europe, nor on a console I had at the time. No, I just thought you looked really pretty. He looked me up and down, me being an oblivious, bumbling idiot who had no idea it was most likely because the cosplay had high slits up the side of the upper thigh. I wore black short cycling shorts underneath them, so I didn't feel really at display or anything. Pan might have had other ideas, though. Enjoying the convention so far? Yeah, it's really fun. There are so many different cosplays, and so much to do and see. How about you? Oh, this is my first ever convention. I only got a ticket for today since I wanted to experience it for myself first, and Friday seemed like the best day. It always brings me joy to see people experiencing a con for the first time and liking it. That is great you are enjoying your first con. I hope you will have a good experience. I got really lucky with this convention since I live in this city. I always had been a rather open person and didn't realize telling people that kind of information wasn't one of my brightest ideas. Like I said, I'm oblivious, I'm naive. I learned from it. We had some more small talk, and eventually the conversation died down. And I had gone back to looking through the boxes full of small figures. Eventually I got a slight tap on my arm. I'm going. See you tomorrow. He gave a slight wave and left, out exploring the rest of the convention. I gave a wave back, slightly confused but amused by his mess-up of words. I tend to do exactly that kind of thing as well, and then feel embarrassed. He probably meant he might see me around the con today, because he didn't have a ticket for the rest of the convention. Just a silly mistake. Right? Right? Overall, the Friday was a blast. Only had a minor incident with another neckbeard that was snotty about me not knowing the true name of the character I cosplayed as. I think it only got mentioned once briefly in the anime, and I was very upfront about disclosing that beforehand. But nope, I was a fake Tales fan. Well, okay, whatever. They still wanted a picture with this fake fan, though. It was nothing major. This Saturday went by mostly uneventfully. It was evening when I entered the game room. I had taken off my wig by then. Freedom! And I walked around, went to see which games they all had that I could play or could watch. Hey! I got tapped on my shoulder and got very surprised. There was Pan. It took me a moment to recognize him because I'm terrible with faces. Oh hey, I thought you only had a ticket for Friday. I decided to buy tickets for the rest of the weekend. I really enjoyed it on Friday. Okay, nothing too weird, right? I mean, people can change their minds on that. We had some more small talk, but this time I started to feel uncomfortable. I got a certain vibe this time, now that we were in a much quieter setting in the evening. He was getting bolder, getting a bit pushy. I live in the same city as you. Where do you live exactly? What is your address? Somewhere in the city? I evaded his question. I don't even know how, but somehow further into the conversation, I managed to let it slip that I have no intention of dating anyone. That I have no interest in it, and am happy being single and not having to worry about someone else. That I have really bad experiences with seeing how some people become a different person for the worse, and it shunned me away from love. I wanted things to be clear, let him down gently. Did this repel him? Would I be telling you this story if it did? He happily was nodding his head. Yes, I'm the same. I have no interest in dating anyone. But we should really do something together since we live in the same city. Where exactly do you live again? I sputtered something, thankfully not my address nor a fake one, just staying very vague again. We should go watch a movie together as friends in the cinema. What's your phone number? The guy actually started to get his phone to try to push me to give my number out to him. Finally, I gained some courage and tried to set up some boundaries. No, sorry. I don't feel very comfortable giving that out. He seemed to accept that for that moment, but kept pestering me about where I lived, informed about my age, and told me he was 2 years older. I started to feel very uncomfortable, especially since he was making his way into my personal bubble, and he kept going on and on about us going to the movies together. I was trying to exit the conversation, noping my way out of there, either moving away a little, but I could already notice that if I said my normal goodbyes, he would just follow after me. I finally started to notice I was starting to feel weak and my stomach felt empty. It was already past 10 and I had forgotten to eat dinner. I was actually about to leave since I hadn't eaten yet. I'm rather hungry, I guess maybe see you later. I wanted to move away, but he took a step closer and looked down on the badge that was attached to my small back strap, chest height. I drew a bit of a blank. I had no chance to protest or quickly cover it up. The bag actually on this con was required to be pinned or clipped onto your right side of your chest. I had pinned it to my bag as not to ruin my cosplay. On it stood the nickname I went by, and right below it, just as large, it had my full real name. It had been required to be given when I ordered my ticket online, and the convention, for some reason, thought it was needed to have it on full display. Because F privacy, right? Okay, see you tomorrow, Athena grunts. I rushed out of there, bought myself some junk food, texted some friends about what happened. I felt so icky. That interaction honestly made me think of skipping out the last day. I wanted to nope out on the off chance of seeing him again. The next day I ended up going anyway because I didn't want my money to go to waste. I avoided the game room, went to some lectures, talked to random people when waiting in line, and explained what happened the day before, and asked if I could be part of their group if Pan showed up again. Like Pan does, he caused panic in me. Honestly though, I love some of the cosplay community, and how protective and sweet they can be. One girl looked ready to fiercely fight off one of my actual male friends that spotted me, and I quickly explained this guy was good. Met two other people that were also cosplayed as Tales of characters, a rare treat, and we ended up having a spontaneous photo shoot. I ended up sticking with them for the rest of the stay since they as well had come alone. It probably ended up being the best day of the convention, and I almost let someone that creeped me out destroy that experience. Soon after the convention, I sent an email on the Facebook page of the event and mentioned the incident of the badge. The following year, they actually did make the real name smaller on the badge, and the year after they changed it to key cords and placed the name onto the back of your badge so you could hide it. They never did send me a message about it, but at least they changed some stuff. I didn't end up seeing Pen that day, thank the gods for that. It didn't mean it was the end, though. A few weeks later, he found me on Facebook and sent me a message. "Hey, how are you? I'm that boy from the anime convention. Do you mind I looked you up?" I ignored that message. However, did do some snooping on his profile. His profile picture looked disturbing, is the right word. It was his cover, though, that made me even more creeped out. It was the picture of a woman on the side looking very seductive into the camera while laying on the ground, and let's say she wasn't a prude in the slightest. One thing I noticed directly was that the woman had a tanned olive skin type and long brown hair. Yep, This guy clearly wanted to go to the movie as just friends. Wasn't like he had a type at all. A half year after no reply, he tried adding me as a friend. That's when I blocked him. At times I feel I'm judging him too harshly. That he might only have been awkward. But then I think about how he didn't ask me for my name and instead looked at my badge to catch my full name. That he kept pressuring to try and find out where exactly I lived, ignoring what I told him. I don't wish him any ill will, but I do hope he has learned to not do such things again, because it can make someone damn uncomfortable. 4. This event took place years ago. Unfortunately, this requires some background information for the plot to make sense. Our neckbeard does not look like the typical specimen. He had no beard nor BO that I could recall. He did have long hair, usually kept neat and held back by an elastic band. Glasses sat upon a broad nose that would bring to question poor genetics, or rhinophimia. Acne and scars from it marred his face. It wasn't unpleasant, just notably unfortunate. The final touch was his daily outfit, graphic tees, cargo pants, and flip-flops, making him an ideal candidate for that show What Not to Wear. For our story, we will address this person as Minus. Minus did have the typical views of women that neckbeards tend to have. They were property in his eyes. and this was made evident by a bro code that only he would follow. The code consisted of not messing with another man's woman once he laid claim to them. This came up several times with interactions with him as I dated a friend of his, and during a period of time I was not with anyone, he saw this as his time to move. We spoke online, and due to my own awkwardness, I tend to be more verbose online than in person. Once I get to really know someone and am comfortable with them, I'll be equally chatty. Minus took my communication with him as an expression of interest where I really just wanted a friend. He had this mindset that I was exclusively his, and I hadn't come to realize this until later. I'm a very private person. I use fake names online and seldom release details about myself. Not even my birthday is made public. During my interactions with Minus, I was chatting up another guy. Fisher, we'll call him. He was someone I had been seeing for a few months, and I did mention him to Minus in our conversations, but I didn't mention him much. What occupied our talks was anime, video games, and my venting of a medical condition I would later be diagnosed with. That's it. With Fisher, the relationship was that of more intimacy, something I kept private from nearly everyone. I refused to update any social media about it, because I felt my last relationship was too public and didn't want a repeat of events. Fisher respected my wishes. Cue around my birthday, which again isn't public knowledge. I get home and there is a package waiting for me, from an online vendor that sells flowers. I wonder who sent it, because nothing obvious is on the outside. Within the package is a stuffed bear and a plant of yellow flowers in an unmemorable pot. Attached is a note that is so poorly written, I wondered if a chimpanzee acquired a keyboard and just proceeded to bang it against a rock. What I was able to make out was,
"Enjoy flowers, oh bear, by poolside, in bikini."
No name. I went cold. Who knew I liked stuffed animals, still, despite being a grown-ass woman? Who knew I even had a pool? Who the hell did I know who wrote this poorly? It couldn't be Fisher, I knew his writing. It couldn't be a few other friends because again the writing and delivery of a present made no sense. Mustering up courage and moxie, I decided to call Fisher first. "Hey, baby," I began nervously. "You didn't by chance send me flowers, did you?" The confusion is immediate in Fisher's voice. "No, what's going on?" I then get the privilege of explaining to my new boyfriend of a possible stalker problem. Fisher found it humorous. I didn't. I called other possibilities. No luck. I eventually called the flower delivery company, and while they admit they have a name on the credit card it was paid with, they adamantly refuse to divulge the name. I grew increasingly scared and angry at their refusal. I couldn't imagine if someone else was in my position regularly getting unsolicited gifts. Their continued refusal was about to lead to legal-oriented threats when a text came through. It's from Minus.
"Did you get the gifts?"
I was stunned, jaw opened. I hung up on the company. I stared at the text. I didn't reply. I remembered then Minus knew my address because he drove to my house once, maybe a year prior. He had saved it to his GPS. I called Fisher and told him. We agreed to make our relationship Facebook official. The status updates threw Minus into a tizzy. I heard from others of his rage-filled rants about his claim of me and how he lost total respect for Fisher. I never spoke to Minus again. Fisher never cared about Minus's philosophies of his bro code, and they were more acquaintances than friends. So nothing was truly lost. Later I could eventually laugh it off. Nearly 6 years later, Fisher and I are still together, and Minus sent us friend requests. We ignored him. 5. This all happened yesterday from the time I'm writing this. I came across this neckbeard about 2 weeks earlier, and while he was creepy then, I don't remember enough to write an actual story about it. I actually documented this entire experience via messages to my boyfriend, as Neckbeard was sitting right in front of me. I can post those later if anyone wants to see them. I'm a music major, specifically voice, and had just gotten done with a performance in my studio class. I didn't have a car today and had 4 hours to kill before my voice lessons, so I got some food, sat down somewhere and began working on some homework for my online classes. I had gotten maybe an hour into doing my own thing when Neckbeard comes out of nowhere, waving me down to get my attention. Oh God, not this again. He greets me, laughs, and mentions how funny it is that he always sees me on Fridays. Granted, this is the second time I've ever seen this dude, and after a bit of banter he decides to sit himself down across from me. Great. I'm still on my laptop, to which Neckbeard asks what I'm doing. I'm doing some homework.
Ah, I see. So I take it you have some high academic standards.
Yeah, sure.
That's cool. I would also say I have some pretty high academic standards. I have a 4.0 GPA and I'm a part of an honor society. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I'm sure you are, dude. Neckbeard gave me the great question of what my favorite video games are. He asks the same question 5 times over the course of our conversation, by the way. And each time I answer with Persona and Zelda. He then begins to drawl over how great Final Fantasy is, and how much he loved Final Fantasy 15, and that it's the best game he's ever played. When I decided to begin the messages to my boyfriend, I opened up an old essay for one of my classes to pretend to be writing, and started clacking away to my boyfriend about how absolutely uncomfortable I was. God bless, I took notes throughout this conversation. There's quite a few zingers in here. After the video game conversation, Neckbeard goes along and asks how long I've lived in my state. I've lived here all my life.
Really? That's pretty cool. I always thought that people from there were really weird. I'm originally from Germany.
What? Neckbeard then goes on and just leans on his hand, stares at me, and giggles randomly for a few seconds. I can't tell you how many times he stops and just does this. I'd say it took up about 25% of our conversation time. I just look at him and try to avoid eye contact like, okay, dude?
I think you look really goofy with your glasses.
I'm sorry?
I don't know. You just seem like a really funny person.
Okay, whatever that means. Neckbeard continues to just stare at me while I continue to frantically type away to my boyfriend. After about a full minute pause of him just staring and giggling, he pulls out,
I like the way you arranged your hair.
Thanks?
I just like it. It's really cute. And you're really cute.
My hair isn't really done any special way, it's just shoulder length with bangs. And I had dyed it a light orange or blonde color a while ago. But still, the way I arranged my hair? The hell does that mean? Neckbeard stops giggling and staring at me and asks me about my major. I'm a music major.
Oh, that's cool. Do you play an instrument or anything?
I'm a singer actually, but I do play a bit of piano.
Oh, really? Could I get a demonstration right now?
Hell no. I've been told I'm a really good singer, but I'm pretty shy about singing in public, especially to strangers. The only stuff I sing are arias in different languages too, so I'm not about to bust out in Italian in the middle of the student union. Screw that. After I declined, Neckbeard talks to me about karaoke and wanting to go someday, while dropping the line,
Maybe one day we could be singing karaoke together. Ha!
Hell no, buddy.
So what do you want to do in the future, with your music stuff and all?
I'm hoping to be a choir director.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, maybe I could write songs for your choir.
What? No. I don't know.
I definitely could, though. I don't know. You seem like you could be pretty cool. I'm not sure yet.
Oh?
Part of me thinks you're kind of boring, though.
Gee, thanks, asshat. You're really winning it over here. Neckbeard then leaned on his hand again, stared at me, and giggled. God, please stop doing that.
You look like a portrait. You could be on a canvas.
I'm sorry, what does that mean? At this point, I was very uncomfortable and really only gave short answers.
So, what were you like in high school?
I don't know.
You don't know? Really?
Nope.
Well, I'm very different from when I was in high school. I talk to pretty much everyone I see now.
good for you, buddy, but you're in your early 20s. High school ended 4 or 5 years ago. Get over it. Neckbeard noticed my lack of response at this point and asked,
So I take it you don't talk to a lot of people?
Nope.
So you're more introverted?
Yep.
I like that.
Unsurprisingly, Neckbeard began rambling on about how he does traditional Japanese martial arts. He started flipping through his phone to show me pictures he took at a Matsuri festival and at a Japanese friendship garden. After finishing up, Neckbeard decided to rehash the question about high school academic standards, and pulled out the line.
I like the saying that knowledge is power. Yeah, I have really high academic standards.
God, end me! He then went on and bragged to me about how he would be working as a librarian on campus, to show me how high his academic standards really were. Great. Thanks for the warning to never go near the school library. After that, guess what? You guessed it! Leaning, staring, giggling. God, it's so creepy.
So what makes you stand out from other girls?
What? At this point, Neckbeard had a buddy that was sitting behind me. He was watching me frantically switching between the untouched essay and Facebook, where I was messaging my boyfriend, and approached us.
Hey man, why don't you come play Smash with us?
Nah, I'm good. I'm having a conversation with this lovely lady right here.
Seriously man, come play Smash with us. We're doing 8-player right now.
What about it? Do you want to come?
No thanks, I'm fine. I have homework to work on. The subject then changed to getting coffee, which went about the same way. Neckbeard asked, I declined, and he stayed. God bless Buddy for trying, though. I'm way too nice to tell Neckbeard off and get him to go away. After Buddy leaves, more creepy staring and giggling from Neckbeard.
I don't know what it is about you. You just have this really cute, uplifting, bubbly smile.
Glad to know my fake uncomfortable smile is cute to you, bucko. After that uncomfortable statement, Neckbeard decides to drop the big ol' anime question.
So, do you watch anime at all?
Not as much as I used to.
Oh yeah, me too. I haven't watched anime in about 4 or 5 years.
He then goes on to tell me about how much he loves Attack on Titan, and complained about how long it takes for them to pump out the new seasons. Christ. Leaning, staring, giggling. I told you this happened a lot. And he then goes on to ask me how tall I am. I'm 5'6", and Neckbeard begins to brag about being 6'1". He then asks me how big my hands are. What? And after he made us compare hands, he told me I was like a small baby. Fuck off, dude. Neckbeard then asks for my number so we could hang out, and my dumbass agreed. We traded phones. I spent maybe a minute putting in my name and number, while Neckbeard takes about 5. He's just staring at my phone and giggling while typing some things. Uh-oh. He finally gives me back my phone after what seems like forever, and I saw what he was giggling over. The dude put his name in my phone as first name, Mr. Relaxation, or something along those lines. You bet I immediately changed that shit as soon as he wasn't looking. Then Neckbeard starts up more conversation.
So, you have any plans over the summer? Maybe we could hang out sometime.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be really busy with my mom's wedding over the summer.
Oh, your mom's getting married?
Yep.
Did she get divorced or?
My dad's dead. God, please, anything to get Neckbeard to leave. I didn't lie either. My dad did pass away when I was younger, and my mom is getting remarried in June. I'm pretty happy for her. Anyways, the conversation continues, leaning, staring, giggling. God, make it stop. And then Neckbeard goes on to tell me how I seem very sweet and innocent. I just deadpan told you that my dad was dead. Where did you get that idea? I desperately wanted Neckbeard to leave, and it was getting close to the time when my boyfriend gets off of work. He usually calls me right after he gets off, so this would be perfect. Neckbeard definitely wasn't taking the hint that I was uncomfortable, and at that point, telling him off would probably just make him mad. I wanted to make this dude as uncomfortable as possible to make him leave, and boy howdy was I ready to try anything. 2 p.m. rolls around, and my boyfriend calls me. I pick up the phone with an overly loud, "Hi, Daddy," and began talking to him all babyish over the phone. About a minute passes, and I tell my boyfriend that I'll talk to him in a bit and hang up. With a big sappy, "I love you," before hanging up. Neckbeard just looks at me.
You don't want to talk to him?
I mean, we're having a conversation right now, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
He then goes on telling me about his relationship with his parents. This dude deadass thought I was talking to my actual dad. Glad to know he hasn't been paying attention to a single thing I've been saying. Fuck it. Time to drop the boyfriend bomb. Neckbeard then goes on to ask me about writing, since
you seem to be pretty passionate about writing that essay.
I mentioned that my boyfriend has a bachelor's in English, and is currently going back to get his master's. I also told him of our future plans to become teachers together. After the boyfriend mention, Neckbeard just looks at me stunned. Boyfriend calls me again shortly after, and this time I excuse myself and take it outside. I start laughing and telling my boyfriend that I can't make Neckbeard leave, and how he thought I was talking to my dead dad when I had picked up the phone the first time. After a few minutes, we decide to turn the volume on my phone all the way down, and leave the call going so boyfriend can hear everything. I walk back inside, and from the look on Neckbeard's face, he has definitely begun connecting the dots between the daddy and boyfriend drop while I was gone. He gave many uncomfortable fake coughs, looked at me, and gave me this.
Look, I don't think this is gonna work out between us.
Did this dude sit down, imagining me as his fake girlfriend or something between the 2 weeks we knew of each other? There never was an us. What? Neckbeard then gets up, leaves, and I immediately pick up my phone again to hear boyfriend wheezing on the other end over Neckbeard's last words. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Neckbeards in the Wild, number 28. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. More of a melty freezer that greets you today. Melty, covered in tar. That's quite an attractive image, isn't it? At least the tar thing isn't forever, and it so far seems to be helping. I mean, it's only been one full day, but so far seems to be helping. I've got a slightly stronger version to put on tomorrow, so we'll try that and hopefully everything goes okay. Now, let me think, when's this go up? Sunday. This goes up on Sunday. Hopefully, if all goes well, I'll have little fishies in my fish tank. I'll post a picture on Instagram or something, if it all finished. I've got the conditioner I'll need to put in the water today, and I did discover that they still make methylene blue, which when I was a kid, it was always sad if my dad had to use it because it meant the fish were sick, and you had to put a few drops in there to help the little fishies. But it does dye the water blue. Right, so obviously I don't need that right now, and I hopefully won't need it right away, but it's good to have it there, and I do love the fact that it turns the water blue. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.